Hi, everybody. Lots of you have got employees working from home at the moment, and that's incurring some additional utilities and internet costs. And you may want to compensate them. Can you? And what are the tax consequences? Yes, you can. And it's the princely sum of £26 per calendar month. That used to be £4 a week, and it got increased to £6 a week or £26 a month. It's HMRC's flat rate, and you can pay them that tax deductible for your company and tax-free for the individual. If they incur more than £26 per month, you can still pay them. It's just that they've got to prove that. And they would have to basically give you a list of the expenses that they're incurring. And it has to be the marginal increase. So it's got to be the additional costs that they've incurred because they're working from home. So you can't claim for things that are fixed, like insurance and rent and rates and that kind of thing. It has to be additional costs. So long as they can prove it, then you can pay them more than £26 per calendar month. Now, what if the employee, for whatever reason, is not eligible for a refund from you? Can they claim for additional expenses? Ordinarily, this is really hard to do. There are 4 key tests that they've got to follow because the rules for claiming as an employee an expense against your taxable pay are a lot stricter than receiving flat rates from your employer. It's basically because you've got to prove that expenses are wholly, exclusively, and necessarily incurred in the course of your duties. But because of the pandemic, there are 4 specific tests that relate to working from home allowances. But because of the pandemic, actually, pretty much everybody now qualifies. I'll just quickly go through those 4 for you now. So the first one is that the work that you do needs to be a substantive part of your duties. Well, I think everybody would qualify for that. It is a substantive part of the duties, because if it wasn't, they'd probably furloughed. Number 2 is that it requires appropriate facilities for you to do the work. Well, you probably need a computer, a telephone, and a desk to do most of the work that you're doing. And therefore, working from home is an appropriate facility to meet that requirement. Number 3 is that there's no appropriate facilities at your employers. Well, you can't get to them anyway because you've been sent home because of the pandemic. So you qualify on number 3. And number 4 is that the employee can't have made a choice between either working in the office or working at home. Now, remember, these 4 qualification criteria existed way before the pandemic. It's just that as a consequence of the pandemic, everyone seems to qualify. Just remember to stop paying, or remind your employees that they can't continue to do this after the pandemic if they choose to work from home. The rules are more detailed than I've described to you right now. So if you did have any of your employees that wanted some advice, have them get in touch with us. Now, if the employee is going to claim the expenses against their taxable pay, as opposed to receiving a flat rate from you, the way that they do that is they just call the Inland Revenue and make a claim. They've got to have the national insurance details to hand. Or if they're subject to the self-assessment regime, then they can make a deduction through there. And it's just on those 4 qualification criteria. So by reminder, yes, that you can compensate your employees. Flat rate, £26 a month, no consequences, deductible for you, tax-free for them. If it's more expensive than £26 a month, they must prove it, and it must only be the variable costs because of working from home during the pandemic. If they want to claim, they can, but they've got to meet these 4 strict tests. Got to be a substantive part of the duties, got to require appropriate facilities. There can't be any appropriate facilities available at their employer, and they have no choice as to whether they work at their employer's office or at home. Hopefully that's been helpful to you. Hope you're all keeping safe and well, and I'll catch up with you all soon. Cheers.